The first 6 years of Emily and Mark's marriage felt like a perfect slice of the American dream, plated and served in a cozy, two-story colonial in the leafy suburbs of Naperville, Illinois. Mark was a senior consultant at a downtown Chicago firm, a man who spoke the language of stock tickers and 5-year plans. He was the sturdy, reliable oak. His ambition was the bedrock of their life. Emily, a freelance graphic designer, was the vibrant, flowing river that carved its way around him.
She found beauty in topography and color palettes, her world driven by intuition and feeling. Theirs was a love built on Sunday mornings spent at the farmer's market, arguments over which shade of gray to paint the living room, and the comfortable rhythm of two people who had chosen each other day after day. Their life was a well-curated Instagram feed of happiness, trips to Lake Michigan in the summer, apple picking in the fall, a home filled with the scent of Mark's grilling and the sound of Emily's laughter. When Emily got pregnant, it felt like the final, perfect piece of their puzzle clicking into place. Mark, the man of data and tangible assets, was floored by the illogical, overwhelming love he felt for the tiny person growing in his wife's belly. His 5-year plan suddenly had a new, profound purpose, a legacy. Leo was born on a crisp October afternoon, bringing with him the scent of autumn leaves and a sense of absolute completion. He was a perfect baby, with Mark's serious, thoughtful eyes and Emily's fine, sandy hair. The first year was a chaotic symphony of feedings, first giggles, and the breathtaking wonder of watching a human being discover the world. Mark would come home from his high-stakes job, shed his suit jacket and his corporate armor, and lie on the floor, making nonsensical noises just to earn a smile from his son. They were, by all accounts, blissfully happy. The first dissonant note in their perfect harmony was so quiet, only Emily's finely tuned ear could catch it. Leo was approaching 20 months old. He was a whirlwind of motion, a happy, energetic toddler who could spend an hour utterly captivated by the way dust motes danced in a sunbeam. But a subtle disconnect was growing, a pane of invisible glass between Leo and the world. "Leo, sweetie, look, a puppy," Emily would say at the park, but Leo's gaze wouldn't lift from the spinning wheels of his toy truck. He wouldn't turn his head when she called his name, not even when she used the sing-song voice he used to love. "He's just got that one-track mind, like his old man," Mark would say with a proud chuckle, dismissing her concerns, probably figuring out the physics of it all. "He's gonna be an engineer." But the pane of glass seemed to thicken. Leo didn't point at the planes flying overhead. He didn't wave bye-bye when Mark left for work. When he was excited or frustrated, his hands would flutter at his wrists, a beautiful, frantic dance that made Emily's heart ache with an unnamed anxiety. And then there were his eyes. Those serious, thoughtful eyes rarely met hers. It wasn't a defiant refusal. It was a profound absence of connection, as if he were tuned into a broadcast from another universe. "Mark, he's not looking at me," she'd whisper at night, after Leo was asleep. "It's like he looks right through me, Em. You've got to stop scrolling through those parenting forums," Mark would sigh, pulling her close. "They're toxic. Every kid is different. Dr. Miller said he's hitting all his physical milestones. He's fine. We're fine." The moment that shattered their comfortable denial came on the 4th of July. They were at a backyard barbecue hosted by one of Mark's partners. The air was thick with the smell of charcoal, freshly cut grass, and the sharp crackle of fireworks set off by neighborhood kids. It was a sensory assault. While other toddlers chased each other across the lawn, Leo sat in a corner of the patio, his hands over his ears, his body rocking back and forth. He was completely captivated by the hypnotic spinning of a ceiling fan overhead. Emily sat on the ground beside him, her attempts to soothe him failing. A woman with kind, tired eyes and a gentle smile approached her. "He's a beautiful boy," she said, her voice barely audible over the din. Her name was Sarah. "Thank you," Emily said, her own smile feeling fragile. Sarah watched Leo for a moment, a look of deep recognition on her face. "My daughter is 9, she said softly. When she was his age, ceiling fans were her favorite thing in the world. The rocking, the hand flapping. I know you don't know me, but has your pediatrician ever mentioned the possibility of autism?" The word landed in Emily's chest like a stone. It was the secret password to the fears she had been locking away for months. She had typed it into Google in the dead of night, only to slam her laptop shut, terrified of the answers. Hearing it spoken so calmly, so kindly by another mother, made it impossibly real. Later that night, after they'd put a finally calm Leo to bed, she told Mark. His reaction was immediate and defensive. Autism? Based on what? A 5-minute conversation with some woman at a cookout? That's insane. Leo is just sensitive. He's an introvert. I was the same way as a kid. But the stone was lodged in Emily's heart. She couldn't ignore it anymore. She scheduled an evaluation with a developmental pediatrician at Rush University Medical Center, telling Mark it was just to get a second opinion and put this all to rest. The clinic's waiting room was filled with toys that were too bright and a silence that was too heavy. Dr. Evans was a woman with a calm demeanor and eyes that saw everything. She didn't just talk to them. She played with Leo, observing him, testing his responses, his focus, his interactions. After 2 hours, she led them into her office. Leo is an incredibly bright and charming little boy, she began, a preface that Emily knew was the gentle ramp-up to a hard truth. Based on my evaluation, he meets the criteria for autism spectrum disorder, level 2. He'll need significant support. I'm recommending an intensive therapy plan ABA, speech, and occupational therapy. It can make a world of difference for him. Emily felt the world tilt on its axis. Tears streamed down her face, a torrent of grief for the future she had imagined, but also a strange, quiet flood of relief. It had a name. There was a plan. Mark sat beside her, straight as a statue, his face unreadable. When Dr. Evans gave them a thick folder containing referrals and information on insurance coverage and out-of-pocket costs, he finally spoke. His voice was cold, clinical. And what's the success rate on this? Therapy? The drive home on I-88 was suffocatingly silent. The moment the apartment door closed behind them, Mark exploded. This is a business, Emily. A racket, he said, his voice shaking with a fury she'd never seen before. He threw the folder on their granite countertop. They medicalize childhood quirks, slap a scary label on it, and then sell you thousands of dollars of therapy a month. Our son is not a broken appliance that needs fixing. This isn't about fixing him, Mark. Emily sobbed, her body trembling. It's about helping him. It's about giving him the tools to navigate a world that isn't built for him. Did you not hear her? This is our chance to help him learn to communicate, to not be so overwhelmed that he can't even be in a room with other people. He will learn, Mark shouted, his face red. He'll learn by growing up, not by being drilled by some therapist who thinks he's a science experiment. We have a mortgage. We have goals. I am not going to bankrupt us for some trendy, new age therapy I don't even believe in.
That night, a fault line opened up in their marriage, and with every passing day, the chasm grew wider. For Emily, the diagnosis was her North Star. She devoured books, joined online support groups, and learned a new language, the language of stimming, sensory diets, and nonverbal communication. She started to see Leo's world not as a deficit, but as a different culture, one she needed to learn to get a visa for. For Mark, the diagnosis was an indictment, a personal and professional failure. The son who was supposed to be his legacy was now a variable he couldn't control, a problem without a clear, logical solution. His denial became an impenetrable fortress. He refused to attend parent training sessions. He'd flinch when Leo flapped his hands. He'd call it that behavior as if it were a stain that could be washed out. Their arguments became a brutal, repeating cycle. Emily would plead, her voice raw with desperation, showing him an article about early intervention, a bill from another specialist. Mark would refuse, his voice hard with a pragmatism that now felt like cruelty. What is the point of a 401k if our son is miserable? Mark, she screamed one night. What is the point of therapy if we lose our house? He shot back. The love that had once been their foundation was now just rubble they used to hurt each other. Mark retreated further into his work, a world of clean lines and predictable outcomes. Emily felt an isolating coldness seep into her bones. She was a single parent in a two-parent home. The breaking point came in the brightly lit, overwhelming aisles of a Target. Leo, then nearly 3, became completely overwhelmed by the beeping scanners and the fluorescent lights. He dropped to the floor, screaming a piercing, wordless cry of distress. Emily tried to soothe him, to hold him, but he was rigid with sensory agony. Shoppers stared, some with pity, most with judgment. Mark, who had been in another aisle, came over, his face a mask of mortified fury. He grabbed Emily by the arm. "Just pick him up," he hissed, his voice low. "People are staring. You're coddling him. This is what all that acceptance gets you." In that moment, under the harsh, unforgiving lights of the store, Emily saw it clearly. He wasn't just in denial. He was ashamed. He was ashamed of their son. That night, she didn't cry. She didn't yell. She waited until Leo was asleep and spoke to Mark in a voice that was eerily calm. "I am not going to let your fear and your pride define our son's life. I will not let him grow up with a father who is ashamed of who he is." "What are you saying?" he asked, though the look on his face said he already knew. "I'm taking him," she said, the words tasting like ash and freedom. "I'm going to find a way to give him the life he deserves. Even if I have to do it by myself." Mark didn't protest. He didn't beg her to stay. He just nodded, a single, devastating gesture of surrender. In that moment, Emily knew her marriage was over. He wasn't just letting her go, he was letting Leo go. She moved to a small, garden-level apartment in Evanston, a place with old radiators that clanked in the night and a rent she could barely afford. The first year was a blur of exhaustion and fear. She took on every freelance project she could find, designing logos and brochures for small businesses until 2 a.m., fueled by cheap coffee and sheer will. She got a part-time job at a local library, shelving books while Leo was in a specialized preschool program she was fighting the school district to pay for. She found a therapy clinic at Northwestern University that operated on a sliding scale. The waiting room was worn, the toys were secondhand, but the therapists were brilliant and compassionate. They taught Emily how to enter Leo's world. They gave her the tools to build a bridge. There were days she would sit in her car after a session and cry from frustration and loneliness. But then there were the breakthroughs, tiny sparks in the darkness that kept her going. The day Leo, then 4, used an iPad app to tap out want apple juice. The day he tolerated a haircut without a meltdown. The day he was building a tower of blocks, and when it fell, he looked at her, a flicker of a shared, frustrated smile in his eyes. She didn't try to extinguish his passions, she nurtured them. He was obsessed with the intricate patterns of city maps and the logical flow of train lines. Their apartment walls became covered with maps of the Chicago L system. She learned that his stims, the hand flapping, the rocking, were not things to be stopped, but essential tools he used to regulate his overloaded nervous system. Their tiny, clanking apartment became a haven, a world tailored to Leo's needs, built on a foundation of patience and unconditional love. Years folded into one another. The struggle was a constant hum in the background, but it was no longer a roar. Leo, it turned out, was more than just bright. His mind was extraordinary. The same brain that found eye contact painful and spoken language difficult could see the underlying code of the world. He started programming when he was 12, teaching himself Python from library books. He found his voice not in speech, but in lines of code. He built worlds. When he was a senior in high school, he entered the National STEM Challenge, a prestigious competition for young innovators. His project was a revolutionary urban planning software that used a proprietary algorithm to design more efficient and accessible public transportation systems. It was elegant, brilliant, and deeply empathetic, designed to serve the people who needed it most. It was born from a lifetime of studying maps and systems, a lifetime of seeing the world in a way no one else could. He won. The grand prize was a full scholarship to Carnegie Mellon University. The award ceremony was held in a gleaming convention center downtown. Emily sat in the front row, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. When they called Leo's name, her heart felt like it would burst. He walked onto the stage, a lanky, serious young man who moved with a familiar, endearing awkwardness. He clutched his acceptance speech, but he didn't look at the paper. He didn't look at the audience. He looked at the projection screen behind him, and he spoke with a quiet, confident passion about algorithms and human-centered design. He was brilliant. He was himself. As the applause washed over the auditorium, Emily's eyes filled with tears of a joy so profound it was almost painful. Every sacrifice, every lonely night, every ounce of her being had been poured into this moment. She had done it. They had done it. Her gaze drifted toward the exit at the back of the vast hall. A man was standing there, half hidden in the shadows, wearing an expensive suit that couldn't hide the slump of his shoulders. His hair was more gray than she remembered. It was Mark. Their eyes met for a fleeting second across the sea of people. He gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod. It wasn't a greeting, it was a concession. It was the silent, heartbreaking acknowledgement of a man who had bet on the wrong future, a man who had stood on the shore and refused to get in the boat, only to watch it sail off to a land more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. Emily felt a pang, not of anger, but of a deep, sorrowful pity. Then, she let it go. She turned her gaze back to the stage, to her son. Leo was looking out, his eyes scanning the crowd until they found hers. A rare, genuine smile spread across his face, a smile that crinkled the corners of his serious eyes. It was a smile of shared victory, a signal sent across their private bridge, a testament to a love that had refused to give up. For every mother walking this path, feeling lost in the fog of diagnosis and the pain of a world that doesn't understand, this was the truth. The greatest strength is not in forcing a child to change, but in having the courage to change yourself. It is in learning a new language, building a new world, and understanding that what society sees as broken is often the very thing that makes a person brilliant. Your love is not just a comfort, it is a force of nature, powerful enough to turn a world of lonely silence into a symphony.